what's up? I just want to make this quick video about the difference between powerful and empowered. And if you don't know the difference, I want you to stick around and check out the video. It's super important, but I'm going to give you a little drop hint right now. Empowered is EMP power. And what does that mean? You have to stay tuned if you want to know. Okay, here we go. Hi, my name is Loretta or Trinity 6, and welcome back to my channel, the Limitless Infinite Space for you to align your mind to higher vibrations and higher frequencies. So today's video is really about the difference between powerful and empowered. And it's also about the word empowered. I'm going to teach you a little bit today about the word and how to look at it so you understand what it means and what the difference is between powerful and empowered. Okay, so a lot of people today really want to become powerful beings. They want to feel really powerful. But I wanted to make today's video about the difference between empowered and powerful because really I think what people want is to feel empowered. You want to feel like people say, powerful within your own being, but it's not really, it's empowered. You don't necessarily want to associate feeling really powerful with being empowered. And so actually, I just said it right there. The big difference is feeling powerful versus being empowered. And it's two different states of being. Now, if you haven't watched any of my previous videos about the sense of self and how you're having this sensory experience, check those out because it really explains the difference between when you feel something, when you're feeling a frequency and vibration, and then when you start to say, I am a certain vibration. So in this case, we would talk about feeling powerful because really it's all about in a state of wanting to be powerful, you have to feel powerful. It's all about the feeling. People want to feel powerful. And then when they feel that frequency and vibration enough, all of a sudden they start saying in their mind, I am powerful. And then they kind of go into this other state resonating with this frequency in a different way. But really it starts in the beginning when you're someone that's trying to gain power. You want to feel powerful. That's the drive behind wanting to gain more power. And the way you feel powerful is that usually for a lot of people that want to be powerful or to feel really powerful is first they lack being empowered, and that's part of the problem. They're not finding their own empowerment, so what they're doing is basically using different frequencies and vibrations to feel powerful. And the way they do that in our world, in our reality, is unfortunately I would say is associated with people who maybe think more negatively. They might not necessarily be negative people, but they might think negatively because the way to feel powerful is to really be using the energy of other people. And the way they do that, well, if you're negative or in a state of feeling negative or being negative, the way that they do that is by controlling and manipulating other people's energy. And you basically align people to whatever thoughts that you have. If you want to feel powerful in your job by getting people to support an idea that you have, you basically find people that align with what you're trying to accomplish that will kind of fall under you and under your direction and your directives. And then when those people agree, hey, we like your idea, we want to support you in this process, what they're doing is giving you their attention. They're giving you their energy. I mean, not giving, but they're basically putting their attention on you by saying, well, what do you need? You need these 10 things? Let me take care of it. I'm going to take care of it. And then when they do that, basically all the energy they put into doing these things that you need, that's like their attention. So their attention goes into these activities, and that attention gets sort of fed to you in a way because you're receiving all this energy and this support for your idea. And the more people they have that fall under your direction or your directive, basically all that energy, it feels like you're receiving all this energy from them. And then the more people that join in and the more that one idea becomes into fruition and becomes more manifest and becomes more reality, all of a sudden you're feeling really powerful. And the more people that align and support your idea, you're feeling even more powerful. And this is also because they're in this way agreeing to support your idea. And so there is a sort of convergence, I would say, of energy that happens when everybody's supporting one thing or one directive or one direction. And so when you have these people that want to feel powerful, then when you get to a big enough state where I would say it's like in the beginning, you're going out and you're doing the footwork and you're like asking people and calling people and you're getting people to support you. And then it kind of reaches a pivotal point where then all of a sudden it has enough momentum where it's like those people are calling their people and their people are calling their people, and you really don't even have to be the person going out and doing all the footwork. It's like you now have other people that go and do that for you as well. I think that that's where the shift happens when people go into from feeling powerful into being powerful, because now they can just sit at home and this like sort of entity or this energy or this idea or this direction or directive that you have now aligned everybody to is like in its own sort of way, its own, like I said, its own entity, and it's basically working for itself, and you don't actually have to do all the hard labor and all the legwork anymore. So that's when you feel powerful, because you realize, hey, I don't have to do anything. I have all these other people doing all this stuff. And so those people, I would say a lot of times, and not necessarily always, sometimes this can happen to people, with, I would say, good ideas, but you just, the shift of energy really comes in, I think, the intention of what you're trying to accomplish. When you're intending a good idea that serves a lot of other people, you can have this same sort of action happen where people align to the same idea and you're supporting one another, but there's really no one at the top feeling really powerful because they're doing it to serve other people. So they're sharing, they're giving all that collective energy is basically being shared back into the community of people or the groups of people that they are trying to provide this energy to through this idea directive. So it's important to remember that this does happen in a positive way, but when we do it in a positive way, when we serve others, that energy gets fed back to all those people and it's shared. So it's this really sort of blissful, beautiful, joyful, wonderful, beautiful, or I already said beautiful, but wonderful experience that we have, giving back to people, sharing with people, interacting with people in this sort of healthy way. But when we have it under what we would call a negative directive or a negative idea that's really about control and manipulation and is basically more serving the self, then we get these like spearheads or people at the top that end up feeling really powerful or being really powerful, or corporations that we sense have this idea of being really powerful or feeling really powerful. And so it's important to remember the difference, because what we really want, instead of everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, not the good people, but instead of these sort of more negative minded people or self-serving people that end up feeling really powerful, because then when it's feeling powerful to being powerful, it feels more like control. And when we have more control, there can sometimes be, more manipulations or all the other like little negative energies and frequencies that come along with control in this way. And what it's really about is being empowered. And if you can be empowered, strong in your being, when you're being empowered, basically it's saying that you want to have the power from within you. And what that is that you don't basically feed off of the energy of other people. You are not necessarily getting people to agree with you under one directive or one direction, and then taking all that energy and putting it basically into your energy field and becoming powerful. You're being empowered. And really that's like what I was talking about when you have people that are doing an idea to serve the self. You basically want every person that's aligning to your idea to feel empowered in the job that they're doing to support the directive or direction that you have to serve other people. And when we do this, we allow each individual that's part of this process, that's part of this experience, to become empowered themselves. We want them to feel joyful and happy and blissful. We want them to feel supported in their part of the experience, but we don't want to take that energy and basically direct it all to one top figure, one top head. And the important thing to remember is really the word. And so empowered, I thought was really important and kind of like blew my mind when I thought about it the other day. I was like thinking about the word itself, but it's empowered versus powerful. So the word is power. The base word that's in both is power. And powerful is obviously exactly what it is. Powerful is full of power. And full of power isn't like from within. It's just like your field of energy or the field of energy of this thing or this entity or this being is full of power because it's like has all this magnetized energy that's basically now has all this momentum to accomplish all this stuff under this directive. And powerful is one being, the being that serves the self, feeling full of power. And so the difference now, empowered, is really EMP powered. And I thought that was so important because I was like, oh, EMP, the first word I thought of the Matrix and was like electromagnetic pulse. And I was like, oh my God, that's so random. It's weird, not random, but I was like, that's so weird because when we think about, if you haven't watched my previous video about magnetizing negative energies, or it's actually, I think about how opposites attract. I talk about how the water molecules in your body and your ions and your magnetic field, how that's all working. And it has a lot to do with your electromagnetic pulses, which is like the electromagnetic activity that happens in your mind when you're thinking certain thoughts. And so I was like, whoa, this is exactly what it is, EMP powered. And what that is that you're aligning your thoughts in a positive way, especially when we serve others. I think that happens because we're full of joy, we're full of bliss, we care about other people, we're really tapping into our higher vibrations and our higher frequencies. But really just any positive thoughts that we have that are in that higher frequency range, that are love and truth and honesty and compassion and all that things. Like when we work with those frequencies, basically those frequencies are resonating in our mind when we're sustaining those thoughts. And then the electromagnetic pulses in our body, that's the EMP. So our EMPs are charged with these frequencies. And when we're really high, basically we are empowered. So empowered has to do with the charging, the electromagnetic pulse in our body that is basically denoted, or I would say defined by the thoughts that we think. And when we're really high vibe, we have a really high vibe EMP. And that high vibe EMP helps us to feel empowered. And the reason why negative or low vibration, if you're thinking a lot about desire and, anger and stress and all the other lower vibration frequencies on that scale, you're charging all your EMPs with these low vibrations and low frequencies. And when you're low frequency like that, you don't feel very empowered. It's like the pulse is very slow. It's not necessarily slow, but it's very low. And so when the pulse is really low, you don't feel it. I mean, you just don't feel empowered. So you feel like you're lacking. And this is what happens because when people fall into that low frequency range, I think that's where people start to if you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you right now about feeling empowered and about your EMP and about your thoughts, then basically those people are the ones that start thinking that they need power. They do all these things and all these activities to feel more energized, to feel more power. And a lot of times, I would say low frequency EMP thoughts, because you don't feel empowered, end up equating to you kind of needing and attracting and being in relationships or with people where you're constantly around other people and you can kind of feed off their energy, if you want to call it that, feed off their energy. But you basically go out and you're hanging out with other people who are higher vibe, and you're trying to basically resonate your lower vibe with this higher vibe. And for a little while you sustain it. You go out with your friends, you're someone who's depressed and you are stressed, and you go out with your friends, everybody's drinking and they're laughing and they're having fun and they're in this high vibe, and you are sustaining that for the short time that you're together and you feel really good. But then when you go home and you're by yourself, all of a sudden your EMP is a lower frequency because you go back into that, that state where you're not as empowered because somebody else was kind of sharing with you their higher vibe, their higher frequency field of energy, and now it's gone. So it's, I think, unfortunate because I think when people stay in this lower state where they're not empowered, then they go into the roots of wanting to feel powerful, and they realize either consciously or subconsciously that being around other people or doing certain things in certain ways, or at work or at their job, or they have a job where they can feel powerful, they end up kind of steering themselves down this avenue of wanting to feel powerful, full of power, because they're not being empowered. So anyway, I wanted to make this short, quick video, but I think it's really important to just remember that EMP is empowered, and EMP power has to do with your thoughts, and your thoughts, when they are high vibe and high frequency and full of, that the upper top range of frequencies that we know about, that's when you feel really empowered, and then you don't need to feel powerful. And so if you know someone that needs this information, please pass it on. I think it's super important right now because we're all about raising the vibration and frequency, and this is a huge one to remember, that this is, why your thoughts are so important and thinking really high vibe, high frequency things, because it's basically EMPing through your whole body and into your field of energy, and it's going to reflect in you feeling empowered versus you needing power from other people or feeling powerful. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I will see you in my next video.